Back at it. TommyG TV. We about to tap in South Carolina with the Murdaughs. I heard his judgment was overturned. He about to get another trial. Let's see what they talking about.
A stunning development in one of South Carolina's most high-profile murder cases ever. The state Supreme Court overturned the murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh. In 2023, Murdaugh was convicted of murdering his wife, Maggie, and youngest son, Paul. The case generated massive media attention from podcasts to multiple TV.
Why ain't overturned? Ain't nobody want your kids dead but you. Or ain't nobody want your kid and your wife dead but you. Next time, I hope, I'm glad they ain't letting him out, do another trial, convict him again, because I feel like he did it. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Series and documentaries. CNN's Diane Gallagher has been covering this since the beginning. Diane, of course, I want you to tell us about this decision, but if you could, since this is inside politics, weave in the impact on the governor's race, because the state attorney general is one of the candidates.
He's considered to be one of the leading candidates in the gubernatorial race, and there's at least one competitor who is already out with a statement on this. But I want to get to what Attorney General Alan Wilson, who was in the courtroom with us for much of those 6 weeks of the Murdaugh trial back in 2023. Alan Wilson said, quote, "While we respectfully disagree with the court's decision, my office will aggressively seek to retry Alex Murdaugh for the murders of Maggie and Paul as soon as possible. Let me be clear, this decision does not mean Murdaugh will be released. He will remain in prison for his financial crimes. No one is above the law, and as always, we will continue to fight for justice." Now, that is important because the court, of course, reverses the verdicts and vacates the sentences, but then it remands it back to the circuit court. So it is the Attorney General office's decision on whether they retry this case again, and that has been discussion leading up to us waiting for this decision. Now, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who is also a GOP candidate for governor in South Carolina, noted, quote, "South Carolina managed to bungle the biggest murder trial in the state's history. This is what happens when no one is ever held accountable. South Carolina's justice system is broken. Victims have no faith the criminals will ever go to jail. Our state has given them no reason to. As governor, I will change that." Now, look, the High Court of South Carolina explicitly laid blame not on the state attorneys or defense attorneys or anybody, but at the feet of the former Colleton County Clerk of Court, Becky Hill.
No, you can't have the people feel like that, like you could just murder people and not go to jail. Shit, if you black, you going to jail. I ain't gonna lie. It's him, he powerful, came from a powerful family. They know the laws, they know the loopholes. He fighting. I can't even put it past him. He fighting. But the docu series is good. The one on Hulu, man, go watch it, man. The one on Hulu was very good. The movie, I don't know. I couldn't get through the movie. I think they had like a Tubi movie, maybe a Netflix movie. I don't know. But the docu series, the docu series on Hulu, definitely a good watch.
The justices say that she engaged in, quote, "shocking jury interference," and they noted it was, in their opinion, outside the knowledge of the outstanding trial judge and, quote, "superbly competent and professional counsel for the state and Murdaugh." Now, look, you may remember there was an evidentiary hearing before where they determined that she made some improper comments like watch his body language, but did not influence the verdict. The High Court does not agree with that and said that it did and therefore violated Alex Murdaugh's constitutional right to a fair trial. We will see what as soon as possible means for getting this together. It, of course, would be very expensive and potentially difficult to find a venue in South Carolina.
Let's discuss with prosecutor turned defense attorney Joey Jackson. Joey, always great to see you. Remind us what this county clerk said to jurors that has now upended the murder convictions.
Yeah, it was pretty significant, Bar. It's good to be with you. So now the county clerk, remember, is a person who pretty much oversees the jury. Whenever there's a jury trial, you have a jury clerk, which you call, or we'll call you, hey, we're starting late today. What are the lunch orders going to be? They pretty much oversee. And the reason I mention that, Bars, is because they develop, somewhat of a rapport, and they certainly have credibility because they're...
That's a blunder. That's crazy. Like, you're supposed to be ordering lunches, calling people with schedules and dates and times, and you help botch the conviction because of your personal feelings. That's crazy. She should be fired. Hopefully they fire her, because that's a big screw up, and that's a lot of money down the drain. Like, she knows she wasn't supposed to do that, and then everybody be like, "Oh, I ain't even gonna get in that. I ain't even gonna say that. I ain't about to get in trouble."
The extension of the judge. And when you have a person of that magnitude who's connected to the judge making rulings, talking about watch his body language, he's lying to you, he's misrepresenting, this is not going to take long, when you go and deliberate, and in terms of the jurors deliberating and finding him guilty, and making other comments like that, which are clear in your suggestion that he is guilty, you shouldn't believe a word he says, it's all in his demeanor, that's not good. And so the issue when you have a clerk like this, or any court personnel, in this instance it was the clerk, Ms. Hill, when you have a person doing that and introducing information to the jury, obviously it has an impact. And in the event that it doesn't have an impact, it's still problematic. But the court essentially found as follows, that directly...
Yeah, that's definitely not a fair trial. Like, don't be trying to persuade. You basically in there persuading the verdict. You're basically you work for the court, and then you're the bridge between the court and the jury, and you in there persuading the jury. Yeah, they definitely violated his constitutional right, whether if he did it or not.
Goes against the right to a fair trial. We hold that as sacrosanct in this country. You have a right to a fair trial. And you can't have a right to a fair trial when you have the very clerk in the court in which the case is being held and heard saying things like this. And so that's the essence of what she said. And as a result of that, the court said, hey, it impaired the jury. There's a presumption that what you said to the jury was prejudicial, affected the outcome of the case, and we've got to do this again.
So, Joey, it's not as if...
So I definitely, with that information, I definitely understand why I got overturned, because you can't be in there working for the courthouse and then influencing the jurors to make a decision. Like, nah, even though I feel like he still did it, but they still, at the same time, two things could be right at the same time. He could have still did it, but they still violated his constitutional rights as giving him the window to get another trial, to overturn the last verdict of the old trial, and now he should get a new trial.
Murdaugh is going to just walk free tomorrow, right? He separately pleaded guilty to dozens of financial crimes, and he's serving concurrent state and federal sentences of 27 and 40 years for those. Does this ruling at all impact those sentences?
So it does not. Those are separate as we look there. So he was in a world of legal trouble, both from a state perspective and a federal perspective, of course, with the state 27 years, the federal government the 40 years. So that certainly is not impaired or impacted at all. And so he's not going to get out. He's not going anywhere as a result of this. I should also say that there's another case that could be pursued against him, relating to a suicide attempt in which he paid his cousin to shoot him. Just bizarre stuff. Yeah, and that's a case that would be pending.
They put that in the docuseries too. Damn. Okay, so no, it was two. It was actually like a straight documentary on Netflix, and then Hulu had like the reenactment show, and they both was good, definitely.
So he's not going anywhere. And the other issue we should say is that the court ruling, the Supreme Court, while significant and while upending his conviction, doesn't mean he will be retried again. That's a function not of the judges in the Supreme Court who ruled 5-0 that you can't inflame jurors like this or taint jurors like this. It's up to the actual prosecutors to make the determination as to whether to do a retrial. But certainly as a result of this decision, that's what the court said he must get.
So as those prosecutors are weighing this, I mentioned a moment ago the amount of content that was generated by this entire case in the form of documentaries and limited series and stuff like that. How do you pick a jury? How do you find a jury pool that hasn't heard about this case or that can weigh in on this case without having any impressions of Alex Murdaugh or
That's
his
hard.
family or any of the entire affair.
So what happens, and this is
I'm in the video right here. You know, they're going to have more stories about this. Definitely check in. Watch the docuseries on Netflix. Watch the reenactment on Hulu. He ain't going nowhere. He had so many charges. He was in so much trouble. He ain't going nowhere. But it's juicy, man. The story was juicy. There's a lot going on with this. So if you haven't did the research on Murdaugh, definitely dive in. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But like, share, subscribe, comment, holla at me, TommyG TV, TommyG Reacts. I'm signing out. I'll be back with more videos though.